Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be going over a bunch of last second Washington Commanders draft rumors, including the possibility of the Washington Commanders drafting Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral, some Daron Payne trade rumor update, and also some Montez Sweat news. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. So close to 7,500 subscribers. Please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. And go ahead and follow the Twitter link in the description. Now, let's get right into the video. Okay, so let's start off with the Matt Corral news from Kevin Sheehan on his radio show that, Jeremy Fowler talked about. So he said, the word heading into draft weekend is the Washington Commanders have done a lot of research on Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral. Researching his background from high school to college, Washington could be looking for quarterback help on day 2 of the draft. So, that is definitely some notable things that he said because, Matt Corral kind of fits into what Washington wants in a quarterback. Kind of mobile, very quick twitch. Ron Rivera has mentioned that so many times about how his, the most important trait for quarterback is, mobility, but also being a quick twitch thrower. And a lot of people describe Matt Corral as a guy who has that quick twitch, ability. So, if Washington did not trade for Wentz, I definitely could, have seen Matt Corral to Washington maybe late in the first if they traded back, or maybe if they traded back into the first, something like that. But at this point, I really don't see a scenario where Washington drafts him, just because they're definitely not drafting him in the first round, and I don't think he'll make it to 47. And even if he does make it to 47, I just don't think Washington's going to draft him in the second round because, first off, I think personally they like Wentz, and even if I'm not saying that's right, but they really like Wentz. They traded for him. They gave up a third this year, a likely future second, a second round pick swap. So, and they're paying all of his salary. And they also saw what happened when Nick Foles was his backup, and then eventually started over him, won a Super Bowl. He got insecure about that. Same thing with Jalen Hurts, who got drafted in the second round. So I just don't think they want to mess with that, especially in Wentz's first year. But hey, if you really like a quarterback, then go ahead and take one. But I think if they really liked a quarterback, like if they really liked Malik Willis, if they really liked Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, any of these guys, I don't think they would have traded for Wentz. So I personally think this is a little bit of a smokescreen to get teams interested in that 47 pick. So if Matt Corral is there, maybe they can trade back. Maybe they can trade back and a team will be willing to trade up for that pick. And they probably did do some research on Matt Corral, but I don't know. Maybe that was way before they traded for Wentz. Who knows? Another reason why I don't think they should necessarily take a QB in the second. Again, if they really love him, go ahead. But if they really loved him, they wouldn't have traded for Wentz. But you have some, pretty big needs. I think linebacker is a pretty big need. Let's see if they address it in free agency or the draft. They're going to have to do it one way or the other. I think adding another receiver is a pretty big need. Adding another free safety is a big need. There's a bunch of depth needs. So if you draft Matt Corral in the second, then you don't have a pick until the fourth. So it's going to be hard addressing all of those needs. So I just don't think they're going to trade for Matt Corral. Not trade. I don't think they're going to draft Matt Corral. Who knows? There's crazier things have definitely happened. You look at Matt Corral real quick. Quick bio: 6 foot, 200 pounds. This past year for Ole Miss had 68% completion percentage, 3,300 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Pretty mobile quarterback, pretty strong. Again, not the biggest guy. And rushing, he had 614 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. He was used a ton in the red zone as a runner. Again, though, don't think he's going to come to Washington's going to draft him. I would say a 5% chance at best. I just don't see it happening. He could even get drafted in the late first. He's probably going to be gone by 47. Who knows, though? could still be there, and that could be an opportunity for another team to trade up. And maybe Washington, usually when it's a quarterback, teams give up a little bit more when trading up. So I would say maybe they could trade back like 5-6 spots, get some more assets, and still get a player they really like. So that's it on the Matt Corral news. I don't think it's a big deal. A little bit of smokescreen. Who knows though? And now on to Daron Payne news. So kind of the same thing we said yesterday, but I'll read this right here from Ben Stand. It says, on Payne, the Commanders began quietly letting other teams know he is available for a trade weeks ago, according to sources. No indication they are desperate to move him is why my report yesterday read are not expected to offer Payne a contract extension versus he's gone. So I said this yesterday, and I believe it even more now. Washington should not trade Daron Payne unless they get a 3rd round pick or more, because Daron Payne, if he does leave, and there's still a chance, first off, that Washington gets an extension done before the season, and then even if we don't do that, there's a chance that Commanders sign him in free agency. So, and if he does leave, he's going to get a pretty big contract, because he's been a pretty good player, former 1st round pick, and, plays somewhat of a premium position. Team's going to offer him like 14 to 16 mil a year, maybe even more. Who knows at that point with the cap. So we're going to probably get a 3rd round comp pick, maybe even a 4th round comp pick. So you should not move Daron Payne unless you're getting more than a 3rd. Like let's say a 3rd and a 5th, because that's more valuable than a future 3rd, because it's going to be in 2020, because he's going to be a free agent next year in 2023, and you wouldn't get the pick until 2024. So a 3rd and a 4th this year is more valuable, in my opinion, than having Daron play for a year and then getting a future 3rd after 2 years. But it's all complicated. I don't think he's going to get traded, and I don't even think his trade value is that high, but I just wouldn't trade him unless you're really getting like a 2nd or more, like just more than a 3rd, because it doesn't make sense if he's going to be like, if he's gone, if we trade him for like a 3rd this year, during the draft, or like a 4th and a 5th, well, then you have a big hole in your defensive line. You get 2 mid-round picks, and and that team, can either extend him or let him go on free agency, and they'll probably get a 3rd round comp pick. So just don't think you should trade him unless you get a 3rd round pick plus or better. So that's it on that news right there. And then, Montez Sweat, this is no news really at all, but just a quick update. The Washington Commanders have exercised Montez Sweat's 5th year option worth, it said $10.89 million here, but the actual amount, it was corrected, is $11.5 million. So I believe this right here is going to be his 4th year, which is crazy. And then next year will be his 5th. So under contract on the books for 2 more years. And, they can already get an extension done now, but we'll see when it happens. But, with Payne maybe being gone, maybe they should try to get a deal done with Sweat, before he explodes, hopefully in 2022. But who knows if that actually happens. He had a little bit of a down year in 2021. So I want to hear what you guys have to say on all these things. What do you think about Matt Corral? Would you even draft a quarterback at 47 with already having Carson Wentz? Gave you guys my thoughts. I don't think they should do it. Matt Corral is solid. Again, he has the traits that they like, but he's a smaller guy, and there's no problem with smaller guys. But if I'm getting a smaller guy, I want a guy with already elite traits. Like you look at Russell Wilson, he's small, but he is such a good quarterback in and outside the pocket, great at extending plays, has an amazing deep ball, and Matt Corral has some really good things about him, but I really don't think he has any very elite traits. Like even Malik Willis, his mobility is just elite, and he has great arm strength. Matt Corral, in my opinion, he's good at a lot of things, but it's not elite at any of them, and he also has had a bunch of injuries. So that's just my thoughts right there. And it's not that I hate him, I just wouldn't draft him with what we have now. It would be different though if we didn't trade for Carson Wentz. Daron Payne, don't think he's going to get traded, and don't think we should trade him unless we get a fair compensation. Montez Sweat, nothing burger. So thank you guys for watching. We are very, very, very close to the draft. So hey, it's going to be fun. Less than 24 hours away. Again, we'll be live streaming the first round with Juan Gotti to pick 11. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.